presenting a case of a postbone contracture of axilla and elbow, sir. So my case is of a 30-year-old lady. She is a housewife from Kannur. She came with the complaints of inability to abduct the left arm and extend her left elbow since 1 year. She gives a history of flame burns 1.5 years back when her clothes accidentally caught fire when she was cooking. She sustained burns to the neck, anterior chest, and left upper limb. She gives a history of less than 20% of second degree burns, sir. And she was taken to a local hospital and managed conservatively with regular dressings. At the time
Shruti, just a second. Shruti, your screen seems to be very small. Is there some problem?
Yeah, I thought no. I am only seeing that, no?
Yeah, no, it's as well, it's like a phone presentation, something like that. No, it's not.
No, it's fine.
Now it's fine. Now it's fine.
Now it's fine.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So
Now it's good, Shruti.
yes, sir. She was taken to a local hospital and managed conservatively with regular dressings. At the time of discharge, all her wounds had healed. She gives no history of any surgical intervention. She gives a history of using a splint for the neck, but she does not give any history of using a splint for the arm, and no history of physiotherapy and no history of using any pressure garment. And 4 months after discharge, she started developing a tightness over the left elbow and left axillary regions. And at present, she is unable to lift the arm overhead or extend the elbow fully. She gives no history of inhalation injury, no history of blood transfusions. She has no comorbidities and no addictions. Coming to the general examination, she is moderately built and nourished, no paloectral cyanosis or edema. We can see I was given pictures of the patient, sir. We can see healed postburn scars seen involving the neck, upper chest, left upper limb with areas of hypertrophy and a contracture extending from the lateral chest wall across the axilla onto the medial arm and across the elbow onto the forearm. So the attitude of the patient seems to be with the left arm abducted and elbow flexed. Coming to a local examination of each thing, the axilla on inspection, we can see a contracture band extending from the left lateral chest across the anterior fold of axilla onto the medial aspect of the arm. The extent seems to be around 6 centimeters from the acromion anteriorly, posteriorly 10 centimeters from the acromion. Medially, it is extending from the upper lateral chest wall, fourth intercostal space, and laterally extending on to the medial aspect of the arm. And there are no erythema or ulcers. The axillary dome appears free, and the skin at the posterior and lateral arm seems to be uninvolved. On palpation, the inspectory findings are confirmed. No local rise of temperature, no blanching, and no tenderness. Range of motion, abduction is restricted to 100 degrees. Adduction is within normal limits. I would like to examine the flexion and extension also. I am suspecting that the flexion would be within normal limits and extension would be restricted. Internal rotation would be in normal limits and external rotation would be restricted. And on local examination of the elbow, on inspection, a hypertrophic contracture band is seen extending from the medial aspect of the arm, continuing from the axillary contracture band, and then going across the medial aspect of the left cubital fossa onto the forearm, extending till the radial aspect of the wrist. The central and lateral part of the cubital fossa appear to be free. There are no erythema, no ulcers. On palpation, the inspectory findings are confirmed. No local rise of temperature, no tenderness, and no blanching on pressure. Range of movements, the extension is restricted at 90 degrees and flexion within normal limits. I would like to measure the pronation and supination also, and I would think that pronation would be within normal limits and supination would be restricted. Distal vascularity is intact. I've examined the donor sites. The back is totally uninvolved. Arm, we have the posterior and lateral parts uninvolved. Forearm is involved. There is postburn scarring involving the radial aspect of the hand. Only a small strip of uninvolved skin is present in the posterolateral aspect of the forearm. Bilateral thighs are uninvolved. This is a picture. My diagnosis would be a postbone contracture of the left axilla involving the anterior axillary fold, that is class 1A according to Kurtzman and Stern. Postbone contracture of the left elbow with 90-degree loss of elbow extension.
Good. Okay. I think you all present well, I think you all present well. Most important thing is that you have a fluency, you present with a lot of fluency. I think both Nishant also presented well. That's very important because when you go for an exam, the amount of time that you have is little. And if you keep on slowing down, is fine. I think both of you did very well. So as with the presentation part of it, got nothing much to say. I don't know whether anybody will have anything further to say. So what will you do, Shruti?
So my first plan would be to manage the elbow and axilla at the same. I would prefer to manage both at this in the same sitting, sir.
Correct.
And for the elbow, I would prefer to do an incisional release and a propeller flap. And for the axilla, also, I would like to do an incisional release and a propeller flap. This would be my first options.
Yeah, but see, we go back to your elbow is fine. The incisional release and propeller flap. You just I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know how you can mark or you got it in a paper, right? You got it ready.
Yes, sir. Actually,
Okay.
I'm talking about the propeller flap, which has the central subcutaneous pedicle intact, sir.
Mm.
So because we have the uninvolved skin at the central and lateral aspects of the cubital fossa, if we can use them to rotate into, these are only representative pictures, sir, not the same patient.
Yeah.
If we can use the propeller flap to cover the actual area, involved joint area, and if we are able to primarily close proximally and distally, then I would have no problem, sir. But if there was any extra area that needs coverage, I would not hesitate to skin graft it proximally and distally and give a splint.
Yeah. So this is fine. This will be a good plan. This will be a good approved plan. This thing. Suppose if you are not doing this, and if you just put a graft only, will you be happy? Will you be happy if you put a graft only?
It depends on my the contents of the cubital fossa that I expose, sir. After the release, if I feel it can be grafted, I would not hesitate to put a skin graft. So that would be one of my options. I would put a split skin graft, but then I'll have to give a prolonged splint use for the patient, sir. And that too, combining with the axilla, if I also put a graft for the axilla, then prolonged splintage would be a problem for the patient.
So here, say, when you put only problem is you have to think before itself. If you put an institutional release, means if you make a propeller flap as your plan, that means the most important first thing is to draw the propeller flap. I think that's what. Then it will not be a real institutional release. Otherwise, what you could do is, if you think you are not going to do a flap, I always believe in the central part, you must have some flap skin. Okay, you must have a flap skin at the cubital fossa. So even if it is contracted hard, you put an incision here, put it so that you open, the central part stays back and you don't raise it at all. And then you keep on releasing it on either side, then again it should be fine. Okay, so with that, graft would be done. And these are all more elegant. If you do a flap like this, it becomes more elegant. But if you go more and severe, the grade of contracture comes, the more difficult it will come to do these fancy flaps. So that's what will be the problem. So otherwise, it all depends on what type of flap you use. Will depend upon the rest of the skin that is available. I think here we are very fortunate. I think we can put a reverse lateral arm flap will go. Yeah, all of them will go in. Or proximally based flaps also can go. So all of them will go. So the principle that you will have is you will have a flap skin in the cubital fossa. And grafts on either side, so that the grafts, even if they contract, so what they'll do is they'll pull the flaps, the central part of the flap in it, and then pull it, and they'll get better. Okay, that's the idea, no?
Yes.
So okay, that's great. I think the elbow part of it will be fine. This Shruti, you're trying to do it, and then you find a mysoid is ossificans there, elbow, no?
Yes, sir. Heterotopic ossification.
Heterotopic ossification. Sorry, heterotopic ossification. What will you do?
Yes, sir. If on an X-ray I find the ossification, I would like to go for a surgical management only, sir. But it is preferred to wait till the bone has matured. And once that bone is matured, which is confirmed by X-ray, we can go for a surgical approach and remove the ossifications and
Yeah.
go ahead with it.
Correct. No? So burn heterotopic ossification is one thing, which yield good results.
Yes.
Okay, burn heterotopic ossification secondarily to the elbow. I think they all give good results. I think you're right. So you did only to go for surgical release, and they give good results, right? So now
Yes,
what
sir.
will you do with the axilla?
Axilla also, I would prefer to do a propeller flap, sir,
Hmm.
because we have the dome of the axilla which is uninvolved.
So
And
yeah, what will you be careful about this in this when you do this, the propeller flaps in the axilla?
we have to. This is,
What is the careful? What do you think you'll be careful about?
sir, about the underlying structures being exposed and giving a good.
Anyway, you're giving a flap, no? The dome, you're giving a flap. You're saying.
Ah,
Only problem is that the hair, no. So
ah,
when you are putting that hair, only one direction will change. That's one. Okay.
correct.
And secondly, if you are taking a flap, you must take the whole unit of hair area as a flap. Sometimes what will happen? Some people take a small cutie flap. Then
Ah,
what will happen? Some original hair will stay in the original place, and then this will go, and this will make it
okay.
very, very ugly. Okay,
Okay.
if you want to take it, you have to take the whole of the hair bearing area of the axilla as a flap. Only then
Yes.
at least it makes it look better and nice. Otherwise, if you are cutting across it, then they give bad results. Okay,
Yes.
this type will you do a Z plasty?
Actually, yes, sir. My other option would be to do a multiple Z-plasty, but
Hmm.
only the anterior skin is a little more scarred. Because of the, history of
Malla.
so I can still, if I
Yeah,
once I see the
yeah.
possible, I would also like to use the option of a multiple Z-plasty or a square flap to see if I can get
Square
away
flap,
with
not square
plastic.
flap, but then multiple Z pluses will be one of the good thing for this because you do Z plastic, you release it by Z plastic,
Yes, sir.
and then after full release, you find that the Zs don't fall into place, and then there's a lot of raw areas.
Mm.
You just put the Zs where they are, where they lie, suture them, and then put the rest of the areas, put a graft.
Okay.
So that is, you release them through Z plastic.
Yes, sir.
By releasing them through Z plasty, you are not extending the raw area. You don't have to put a huge transverse incision. Okay,
Okay.
that's the problem. That's the advantage. You release it, and
Yes.
then you allow the Z flaps, wherever they lie. You allow them to lie, and then
Yes.
rest of the areas, you put a graft. It will be fine. So only
Yes.
problem is you will find that the areas that you have to graft will come in different places. So
Yes.
it's always, if you have a big raw area, it's so easy to graft. If you have a
Yes.
small raw area, different small raw areas, it takes a lot of time, lot of effort. That's what you need to really take that. And that's the only issue that you would have. So
And,
this you will give, and then how will you splint them?
splint them would be in an aeroplane splint, sir, where I will give 100 degree of abduction,
Yeah,
90 to 100 degree of
100
abduction.
degrees abduction. That's right. So I think it will be a very straightforward this thing. So I think you got some nice pictures. You got okay. So same thing. Okay.
Yes,
So I
sir.
think this is a very straightforward case, where the anterior axial fold is mainly involved.
Yes, sir.
The dome is inside is free. Okay, so you
Yes, sir.
could do that. The other principle I would agree if is that no, you need to do both at the same time. I think that's the
Yes.
next one. That's the next point. If you only be wrong, if you say I'll do one by one, so
Mhm.
that doesn't really make good. Okay. So you have any other questions, Shruti, in your mind, when you prepared for this case?
Yes.
Yeah, tell
Actually,
me.
for the axilla, I had a doubt if we are warranted in saying that we would go for a release and a skin graft, sir, if possible, directly. As in, is it a very dicey situation to put a skin graft in the axilla because it has a high chance of recontracture and
No, the dicey thing is lies in making the 100 take of the graft in the axilla. I think that's the problem. Okay,
Okay.
that's the problem, you know. So sometimes what we do is just put in a like a parascapular flap. You know, you take it and primarily
Yes.
close it,
Mm.
and in the center part of it now you put the flap, and then the rest of the areas you you put a graft. So
Yes.
you'll find functionally they'll be all right, but
Mm.
aesthetically, no, it won't be nice. If you just put a flap into the axilla, no, a big flap into the axilla and a scar on the back.
Yes.
Okay, it's not a really a great this thing. For which I would say in these type of cases, if you are able to spend a lot of time, put a nice quality. So when you take a graft also, no, the results wise. Which of those cases which get recurrence of contractures you find, if you go back and think, when you take a graft, now you must have some amount of dermis in the graft, and they must
Yes.
have a uniform level of dermis you have to take, So that
Oh.
is sometimes what will happen, you take a graft, you will find it is a graft, but you won't find that when you look at it, no, there won't be a lot of any white structure at all, no, you'll be thin. Of
Mm.
course, it covers it, but then naturally it will contract. So
Yes.
you need to have a moderately thick graft you need to take so that
Yes.
and if you take a moderately thick graft, they curl, okay, and then
Yes.
you need to really pull it and stitch, and you need to put a lot of quilting. That part of it you have to take care.
Yes.
I have found some of the patients, which um, um, so seen by senior plastic surgeons, okay?
Yes.
Senior plastic surgeons, amazingly results they have shown by grafts. Okay,
Oh.
so burn contracture releases, grafting is not a bad idea.
Okay.
Most of the places, it might work out well, but only thing is that in the technique, you should be able to do extraordinarily well. I think that's it. I would say that that will be a point.